just landed in Addis Ababa. We had a very nice, pleasant flight. Very spacey. Usually, you get other flights, they cramped. The food was good also, nice and clean. The crew was very efficient, very professional, nice people, and we will definitely recommend the Ethiopian Airlines to anyone who wants to follow us. Well, we have just landed in Addis Ababa. We are now going to the international transfers for our next flight to Moscow.
And let me add that if colonialism hadn't come to the richest continent in the world and stolen everything, this floor, this beautiful floor, could be platinum, gold, copper. Genuinely, that's how rich this continent is. Had it not been looted, in this case by the Italians, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
We arrived at Domodedovo Airport exhausted, yet filled with anticipation at driving through Moscow in daylight.
We are just leaving the airport on our way to Moscow, to the hotel where we've been booked. Moscow, here we come.
The first thing that struck me was the greenery. For long stretches, the road from the airport is flanked by dense forests of birch, maple, linden and oak, all indigenous to Russia. It feels as though the city has been built into a landscape, not imposed upon one. Moscow is one of the greenest cities in Europe, with over 40% of its territory covered by forests, parks and gardens. That commitment to integrating nature into the urban fabric is immediately visible, and such intelligent planning. Then came the roads. Broad, immaculate avenues stretched ahead, more like highways than city streets. For a metropolis of around 13 million people, the scale makes sense.
So here we are. We are always told that things are not really functioning here. We've been told that there are long queues because of fuel shortages, because of the conflict. But as you can see, I don't see any of that. I see a city that is operating normally, of course, being mindful of the conflict. The security is tight. There's a lot of bureaucracy also, particularly because of the security considerations, which is normal by any standards and so on. But wow, I see another huge traffic jam there. Wait, what's happening there?
Traffic jams.
Well, in Johannesburg, we also now and then experience these traffic jams. They are not out of place. And now we're getting into the city.
As we approached the city, the architecture began to unfold in successive phases. First were the Khrushchevka, the prefabricated apartment blocks built in the 1950s and 1960s to address urgent post-war housing needs. Functional and unadorned, they were part of a social revolution that gave millions of families their own homes and dignity for the first time.
I was saying the buildings that we are just going past, they date as far back as the Soviet Union days, which unfortunately with the presidents of Mikhail Gorbachev collapsed in 1991. But you can see, the structure, the proper planning and the greenery, is here. Just walking around, the energy around the trees and so on, and this is what the West was trying to destroy, as far as I'm concerned. You may think this is propaganda from me being biased, but it's what you see. It's not me. Daria, can you tell us quickly about the buildings that we went past, how long they date?
It was built during Nikita Khrushchev's time in 70s and 80s. It's a small apartment with small kitchen because usually people during Soviet time they ate their lunch and dinner outside in Stolovaya we call it, and it's a very cozy little apartment.
And they not, if correct me if I'm wrong, you mentioned the size, and my thinking is that the focus was not on super luxury, but to ensure that everyone has a decent place to live in, and for family life and so on. So that was the focus, rather than the Western concept, which is very bourgeois in approach. What currently are there any experiences of homelessness? Like, if you go to America and England, you find a lot of people in the streets.
You will see, actually, with your own eyes, and you will tell me after your real experience.
I'm looking forward to that.
A little further along, mid and late Soviet brick buildings appeared. These structures were sometimes taller, more solid, and often more decorative. Their facades in warm reds, sandy yellows, and creams carried patterned reliefs and arches built for permanence and everyday dignity. Rising in the distance were the Seven Sisters, monumental Stalin-era skyscrapers that combined Baroque ornamentation, Gothic spires, and the scale of the skyscraper age. Built between 1947 and 1953, they still dominate the skyline, anchoring Moscow's identity with a powerful sense of presence. This pattern of development tells a very different story from the one so often told by the West. For decades, Russia has been portrayed as grey, backward, and stuck in the Cold War past. That stereotype served political ends, but completely ignored reality. On this short drive, the truth becomes visible. A city planned in stages, rich in history, assured in its development, and visually arresting. Moscow's beauty is both immediate and evolving. It's in the forests that line the highways, the wide avenues unfolding towards the center, the brick facades glowing in the clear daylight, the new glass buildings sparkling in the sunshine, and the monumental towers rising through the skyline. It's in the way history and modernity coexist seamlessly, forming a coherent and self-assured urban landscape. By the time we reach the hotel, fatigue has given way to a quiet awe. Moscow is beautiful, profoundly, strikingly, unexpectedly, some would say, beautiful. Tomorrow, we begin our tour of the city with 2 days to explore, relax, and absorb its atmosphere before turning to our main reason for being here, World Atomic Week. This major international gathering brings scientists, policymakers, journalists like us, and delegations from across the world to discuss nuclear energy in a multipolar future. For now, though, that first daylight drive through Moscow remains etched in our minds. Forests, roads, brickwork, spires, and light. A living city, so far removed from the tired narratives so often told about it, and streaks ahead of the decaying cities of Western Europe, shaped as they are by neoliberal austerity measures and profit before people economics. Moscow, on the other hand, is a people-centered space, filled with intelligent long-range planning that reveals itself at every turn.